So we have waited longer than we ever thought possible to say the following words. Distinguished guests, members of the faculty and staff, and friends of the graduates, and members of the graduating classes of 2020 and 2021, on behalf of our esteemed faculty and staff, I welcome you to the Berkeley Haas full-time MBA Commencement Ceremony. I'm Ann Harrison, Dean of the Haas School. It is my duty and great pleasure to officiate at today's ceremony. To our full-time MBA graduates of the classes of 2020 and 2021, I welcome you to the Paramount Theater, a landmark treasure that provides a stage only for the most accomplished and celebrated creative minds from around the world. No wonder we are here. I congratulate you on your remarkable achievement. Against the turbulence of the past 2 years, you managed to complete your Master of Business Administration at one of the best business schools in the world, and we are incredibly proud of you. I would like to take this moment to recognize spouses, significant others, parents, children, extended family members, and friends who supported our graduates during what I imagine were the most challenging few years of their lives. All of you are true partners in the achievements of our graduates who we celebrate today. Would the graduating students please join me in a round of applause to honor these very special people? When you joined Berkeley Haas, you joined a world-class institution at the epicenter of innovation. You were already accomplished professionals before coming to Haas, but you decided to invest in yourselves to become indispensable business leaders. You did all of this while balancing your careers, family responsibilities, and personal lives. And suddenly, your world was upended. The global pandemic disrupted your MBA experience in the middle of your programs, and it disrupted everything else. You were unable to see family members or friends. You worried about elderly relatives. And if you had children of your own, you added homeschooling to your already long, long list. I know that this was not the experience you had expected. It's not what we wanted for you either. We could see the heartbreak on your faces, even on Zoom. We really missed seeing you in person, getting to know you. We all missed out on a lot of things over the last 2 years. But through everything, you showed a grit and a resilience that was unparalleled. You showed courage and conscience. Simply put, you showed leadership. If you ever doubted whether you could lead through a crisis, overcome impossible odds, break through barriers, you have your answer. Through the crucible of these years, you were tested. With your fierce intelligence, compassion, strength, you have demonstrated to the world just how much you can do in the most difficult of times. I could not be more proud. You have graduated with a degree in business from the #1 public university in the world. You will make an impact on that world. And over the course of your careers, you will find yourselves among the very top of wage earners among your peers from the other leading business schools. And wherever you go, you will always have the power of Haas behind you. What you have been through together is unlike anything Haasies have experienced before. But through it, you have forged a bond unlike any other. And now you join a dynamic network of over 42,000 Haas alums and over 500,000 Berkeley alumni around the world. They are there for you. They will open doors for you. All you need to do is reach out. So, lean on your Haas community and contribute to it. Answer calls from prospective and current students who need your advice. Hire Haas. Come to the Haas reunion celebrations. The very first one starts this weekend. Our alumni teams work to make the timing happen. We hope to see you there. You are our newest alumni. The more you connect, the stronger the Haas network becomes. Now, it is my great honor to introduce you to one of those alums. One of the great traditions at the Haas School is the selection of our commencement speaker. Every year, we call upon an individual of uncommon distinction to address the MBA graduating classes, someone who personifies our defining leadership principles. This year, we are delighted that the Berkeley Haas MBA Commencement speaker is such a leader, a role model whose career shows the power and the impact of what we mean when we say, students always. Laura Clayton McDonald is the Senior Vice President of Sales for digital workflow company ServiceNow, responsible for the East, Canada, and Latin American regions. After earning a joint MBA and JD at Berkeley, Laura worked in private practice and then as an in-house corporate securities lawyer for Apple, Cisco, and Sun Microsystems. It was not long before the value she placed on learning and growth brought her to executive leadership roles on the business side, from VP of Strategic Services at IBM to VP at Microsoft. Laura was recently appointed to the corporate board of directors of Zora. She serves on the board of directors and the membership committee of the Women's Forum in New York. She is a past recipient of the YWCA Silicon Valley Tribute to Women Award and is an advisory member of the 92nd Street Wise Belfer Center for Innovation and Social Impact. Whether it is helping women progress in their careers or helping communities thrive, you will find Laura at the center. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to your fellow alumna, Laura Clayton McDonald.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dean Harrison, for such a kind and generous introduction and for the opportunity to speak at this ceremony. To the members of the faculty and staff, alumni, family, friends, loved ones, and most importantly, the illustrious members of the full-time Haas MBA classes of 2020 and 2021, congratulations to you. This is a wonderful time to rejoice and celebrate. This is your day. I hope you can indulge me for a moment and pause to acknowledge challenging social, economic, and civic events that we have experienced. Our hearts go out to those who have been adversely affected, and we stand with and for them. Let's appreciate how seriously fortunate we are to be here together and to be associated with this world-renowned institution. It is indeed an incredible honor for me to return to my alma mater as your commencement speaker. And it's a true privilege to personally congratulate all of you on earning your MBA from Haas. While this is a commencement, let's be real, we are beyond commencement. The journey has already begun. You are now pursuing postgraduate studies about how to learn, live, and lead in this new world, addressing inequity and injustice, providing care for yourself and your families and communities, and working in a hybrid environment, and through incredible reservoirs of resilience and resolve, making a difference. If there is anything that we've learned since your graduation, it is how we as leaders each have a critical role to play in changing the world for the better, and we play that role with purpose and in the tradition of Haas. 4 leadership principles are at the core of this tradition: beyond yourself, question the status quo, confidence without attitude, and students always. These 4 principles represent a process for investigating, understanding, and changing the world. But let me begin with purpose. If you're like me, you love TED Talks, and Simon Sinek did a talk on Start With Why. And his talk has had millions and millions upon views. And the premise is that people won't buy a product or a service or embrace a movement or idea unless they understand the why behind it. Every organization has its why, its mission statement, and Simon Sinek encourages us to find our own personal why. When I was a vice president at Microsoft, our goal was to build teams that could accomplish any challenge and take on any kind of issue. So we collaborated with an organization called Compete to Create, and they designed a training program to help us develop those high-performing teams. And creating your own personal philosophy statement was absolutely critical to it. So we completed this exercise, we developed the statement. It's your purpose, it's your set of guiding principles. And we were creating it using words that we selected from a sheet of paper to craft this statement. So I'm going to share my personal philosophy statement with you. It is to live life in an exemplary manner in all that matters, with courage, curiosity, compassion, humility, integrity, and optimism. And each one of those words has a story behind it. Each member of my team created their own personal philosophy statement, and you could come up to them at any time and ask them what theirs were, and they would share it with you. When we needed to mobilize or activate the team, all we need to do is leverage those statements. One day, Dean Richard Lyons visited with me when I was at Microsoft. He was doing a listening tour, visiting with alumni and prospective students, and he and I both noted how closely aligned my personal philosophy statement was with the Haas leadership principles. We both believe it was evidence about how you can gain more than just a classic education from the business school here at Haas. We realized how deeply impactful the curriculum is, and it really helped to shape our purpose and also the values as an expression of our leadership. So let me share with you just a few examples of that alignment. The word exemplary for me has 2 meanings, and one is about being your very best, and the other is about being a role model for others. And the story behind exemplary for me begins with my parents, who were born and raised in Colón, Panama. My mother is here today, Barbara Joan Clayton. Te amo, mi amor. And my father, Sylvester Valentine Clayton Jr., unfortunately could not be here. He had passed away, sadly. May he rest in peace. But my parents, like many others, wanted to come to the United States because they wanted to pursue the American dream. And one of the ways to do it is to join the military, which is what my father did. And the first place he was stationed was Bermuda, and that's where I was born. My parents sacrificed a lot to come to the United States, many things they left behind: their native language, Spanish, their culture, family, friends, and they placed the well-being of their children ahead of themselves. As a result, I've always felt that I need to honor that sacrifice by being my very best. And through the teaching of my parents, they gave us the belief that we needed to be responsible for others, and that is how it informs the Haas leadership principle for me: beyond yourself. And as you heard, I have volunteered and work with the Belfer Center at 92Y, and helping in a program called Women in Power. And that is a program for training and networking with women to help them become leaders. As leaders in the Haas tradition, when we are doing our very best work, we are shaping the world for others to be better. The next leadership principle is about questioning the status quo. And there are many stories about what happens to a company when they do. If you resist that change, if you maintain the status quo, well, you're not going to go very far. But questioning the status quo often requires a willingness to take a risk, which brings me to my next story about the word courage in my personal philosophy statement. After Bermuda, my father was stationed at Travis Air Force Base in Northern California. And because our family was growing, my brother, Sylvester Valentine Clayton III, my sister who is here, Jennifer Florence Clayton, we were running out of room. We needed a new place to stay. My mother called around and learned of several potential options, made an appointment to go see a place. And when she and my father arrived, it turns out that no places were available. They were no longer available. Well, what a surprise. You can imagine how that felt to be treated in that manner. So as immigrants to the United States, there's many things that you could do. You could do nothing, don't make any waves, or you could pursue a course of action that could be costly and could be risky. Well, my parents showed courage. They filed a complaint and they won. And I will say to you, that was a defining moment for me, because that was, from then on, the reason why I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to give voice to those who wanted to protect their rights. And so I enrolled at UC Berkeley, pursuing the MBA JD Joint Degree Program, and later leveraged both of those degrees to provide a support in the form of pro bono work to women and people of color who wanted to start their businesses. Maintaining the status quo can seriously weaken growth potential, and leaders need to have a growth mindset, a state of mind that doesn't settle for the minimum, instead looks for how things can be improved. And what I am so proud of is that my family is in support of that. My husband, Ed McDonald, my children, Clayton Hutchins, Taji Hutchins, and Megan Ludlow, they believe in that and they live their lives that way. And as leaders in the Haas tradition, that's our responsibility, to have the courage to create a culture where questioning the status quo is encouraged. Confidence, that's a powerful trait, that belief that you have in yourself and your abilities. And you've all heard the saying, seeing is believing, but that starts with a foundation of doubt. In our family, we switch it around. It's believing is seeing. Believing in yourself, your hope, optimism, your perseverance, your dreams will come true. And given the world in which we live, it's important to have that level of confidence, but also do it without attitude, to be humble. And that's one of the words that's in my personal philosophy statement too. Approaching opportunities, challenges with an open mind, valuing others, their opinions and perspectives is absolutely key. And the last that I'd like to share is really about the word curiosity. And that's in my personal philosophy statement, and that's in alignment with students always. I'm going to be an astronaut one day. That was my 10-year-old self declaring to my parents, and they said, of course you will. You could do anything that you want to. And what I love about it is that I had an opportunity with loving parents that said, you know what, every astronaut needs to have a telescope, so you know what, we're going to build one. So my father got a copy of Scientific American magazine, and there were instructions about how to build a telescope, and so we did. We bought the lens, we bought the PVC pipe for the tubes, but I got to tell you, when we set it up to look at the stars, it didn't work. Oh well, and my father said, wait, I think you've missed the point here. This is a learning opportunity. This is where you challenge your boundaries, you stretch your limits. You're going to try, you're going to fail, but you're going to learn. And what I love about that lesson is so aligned with students always. That's what we're going to be able to do as folks that are in the Haas tradition. That's how we're going to change the world. For me, the 4 Haas leadership principles have always been a way to guide my journey and multiply my impact in the world. And it is my sincere hope that leveraging the principles in your journey will allow you to do the same. Again, congratulations to you, classes of 2020 and 2021. Thank you for allowing me to share in your celebration. I wish you the best of luck as you accomplish great things, change the world, and lead in the tradition of Haas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. I would now like to acknowledge the graduates of the full-time MBA classes of 20 and 21 who have earned the honor of being named Berkeley Haas Beyond Yourself Fellows. These students have completed 60 hours or more of community service while completing their MBA degrees. All Beyond Yourself Fellows are listed in the commencement program. So let's take a moment and give them a round of applause. So now we're going to turn to the full-time class of 2020. You graduated during the pandemic, and I'm sure your personal and professional lives were turned upside down. I applaud you for managing this uncertainty and leaning into the defining leadership principles to help you navigate this new reality. Many of you went beyond yourselves with selfless acts of kindness. Others questioned the status quo and found new ways to thrive in uncertain times. All of you made us proud. We would now like to recognize the winners of the Class of 2020 Defining Leadership Principle Awards and the Berkeley Leader Award. Your class has nominated classmates who have made outstanding contributions to your MBA experience and who best embody the DLPs. Now, I am going to announce the recipients of each principal and Berkeley Leader Awards. As I do that, can that individual please stand? And then I'm going to ask that our guests hold your applause until I've read all the names and ask our award recipients to continue standing when you hear your name called and remain standing until all the awards have been announced. So I'll start with Question the Status Quo. This award recipient champions bold ideas, takes intelligent risks, and accepts sensible failures. Someone who's willing to speak their mind even when it challenges convention. And the recipient of that award is Evan Wright. Okay, I won't say anything about following directions. So in Evan, his classmates saw an unstoppable leader, always encouraging others and building community. The thoughtfulness and skill in guiding discussions around diversity, equity, and inclusion he showed in week 0 continued throughout his formal roles as a student government leader and facilitator for the Dialogues on Race course. The next award is for Confidence Without Attitude, someone who makes decisions based on evidence and analysis and leads through trust and collaboration. And the award goes to Celeste Farwaso. Celeste, her classmates said, made Haas a kinder, more inclusive, and connected community. Brilliant, driven, and accomplished, Celeste was always friendly and humble. By treating others with empathy, she unfailingly displayed a quiet confidence and power. The Student Always Award is given to the student who stands out for engaging with others in continuous pursuit of knowledge and growth. And that individual is Nina Ho. Many of the nominations for Nina used the word always. Always prepared for group projects and worked harder than anyone else. Always seeking to gain new skills. Always seeking to learn more about her chosen field. In other words, a student always. The next award for Beyond Yourself goes to the person fellow students saw as leading ethically and responsibly, putting larger interests above their own. For the class of 2020, the Beyond Yourself Award recipient is Benny Johnson. So the sheer number of nominations and their consistency and appreciation for all Benny did for others was overwhelming. Proof of his personal belief that life is more meaningful when it is lived in service. Next one, Berkeley Leader. This award recipient demonstrates sharing our defining leadership principles, aspiring to live our principles, and putting them into practice. We have 2 recipients in the 2020 class. First, Molly Zanes. And secondly, Ezgi Karagat. Both our Berkeley leaders served in student government, and both were focused, fierce, and thoughtful advocates. Both went above and beyond themselves. Molly with her support to our community as we pivoted to remote learning, and Ezgi for helping attain the STEM designation for MBA degrees. And by the way, your dean worked on that too. Now, international students who graduate from the full-time MBA program are eligible to apply for a 2-year work permit extension in the US. And we want to recognize 2 other graduates of the class of 2020. The awards committee felt the work called for an all-new award and honored Francesco Di Piero and Santiago Freire with the first ever Haas Legacy Award. Love that STEP t-shirt. They co-founded STEP, a student-run incubator that helps students who want to start their own companies get matched with mentors, improving the odds that they will see their ideas and dreams come to life. So congratulations to all the honorees, and you may now give them a round of applause. You may be seated. There's one more award for the class of 2020. It is my pleasure now to present the class of 2020 Outstanding Academic Achievement Award. The Academic Achievement Award is presented to the student with the highest GPA in the class. That student is Brian Shane. Brian had a very impressive GPA of 3.91. Congratulations, Brian. We will now hear from the graduating student who was selected by his classmates to represent the full-time MBA class of 2020, Joe Sudkowski. At Haas, Joe won a teaching award for Outstanding Graduate Student Instructor and was a tech peer advisor. He is now a strategy and operations lead at Google, though he claims to have his eye on that Google Daily Doodle coordinator spot. He might even be serious about that. You can never be sure with Joe. So please join me in welcoming Joe Sudkowski, class of 2020.
Oh, man. Hi, I'm Joe Sikowski, or JoJo, the 2020 class speaker. Woo! And I'm here to finally remind you about your car's extended warranty. Pick up the phone! Seriously though, I can't believe we're actually, finally here. Scheduling this graduation was like running into that one friend of a friend at a bar and saying yes, we should totally get brunch tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and you're a little hungover, but you think it might be COVID, so you just text them shamefully saying sorry, something came up, next week for sure. It's that, but for 2 years. Just imagining a crazed Pete Johnson manually moving that Google Calendar invite 100 times. Going any week now, any week, this will be the one. But yeah, COVID was wild. It is still wild. We as a collective just aged in dog years during this period. Sneezing in public is now legally assault, and I personally gained 20 pounds the COVID-19 and moved into my mom's basement. So you could say things are going pretty well for me. Oh man, I feel like my 12-year-old self would be like, where did we go wrong? What is Haas? Is that a jail? Is that rehab? What is it? But, now that COVID is ending, it means we have to go back to the office and stop rewatching the British Bake Off or the Beatles documentary, if it'll ever end. Basically, we just need to go back because of the culture. But I ask you, the culture of what? Ashamedly pooping next to my boss, who I've identified by their shoes? Launching little test farts masked by coughs to try not to be too loud? But the saddest part, no, there are great things. The connection, the human experience is great. But the saddest part is that now that we're demasking, I have to go back to brushing my teeth every day. Segue, Fede is here today. Woo! Woo! He's the other speaker from the class of 2021, and he's amazing. I know him a little bit. And I'm sure if I knew him more, I would still think that. But I met him when I was a peer advisor, and I reviewed his resume during my tenure, and after seeing it, I was seriously impressed. It was so good. It was startup co-founder, adjunct professor at 25, and basically he was a straight A student. And he asked me, he was like, Jojo, do you know how I can get a job in big tech? And I was like, do you? Do you have any advice? I don't. Anyways, so, woo! Oh, man. So, when my class elected me as their speaker, and this part's serious, amid the most unique period of our lives, during an unprecedented global health crisis in COVID, with record economic uncertainty, incredible Black Lives Matters protests, my first thought was, we really need Kamala or someone else to weigh in on this and balance this whole thing out, okay? Because I don't know if you noticed, but generic white male, all right? My name is literally Joe twice, okay? Oh, where'd he grow up? The suburbs. Did he have a golden retriever as a pet? Yes, it wore an American flag bandana. This, how can I possibly opine on this? Where is Kamala? Can we get Kamala? Jeez. But, Haas, the world needs direction, the world needs to heal, and this 29-year-old white guy who still quotes SpongeBob is exactly what we need, okay? So I'm ready. We're clearly questioning the status quo with that one. Oh, man. But FYI, Haas originally told me that I have 5 minutes for this speech. Nice try. Oh, my Lord. For every day this speech was delayed, I've added 1 more minute, okay? So I hope you all ate before this. Except for the one person whose chair I taped a Cliff Bar underneath. You all should check. Paging row GG118, it's there. So my first hour is just gonna be improv work, which everyone will love. Hour 2 is gonna be Hour 2 is gonna be prop comedy, including now. Oh, man. And hour 3 is solely dedicated to a live reading of my fan fiction, The Boy with the Ring Who Lived. It's the story about Frodo Baggins slowly turning into Harry Potter. I'm currently working out a few kinks, but if you'd like, I can give a little bit for you. Yeah?
You shall not pass potions class!
And the funny thing is, that was actually my 6-word essay to get into Haas. Morgan loved it. Haas is a funny place. It's a great place. We can't even agree on how to pronounce our school's name, okay? Is it Haas or Haas? A classic Leviosa dilemma. It's equally as challenging as the trolley problem. I'm actually not sure why Haas teaches us that. Does Haas note the lack of Z in my pronunciation? Because there is no Z. Does Haas know the decisions that post-MBA jobs require us to make? It's basically, should I use VLOOKUP or Google how to do index match again? And that's it. There's no in between. As such, it's time I reveal the 5th defining principle. There's the greatest hits like question the status quo and students always. And now, analyst for 1 year, post-MBA at least, okay? Oh, God. And this is about where I plan to receive my own slap from the faculty, the Will Smith slap. Man. But truly, Haas is such a special, incredible place. It's the birthplace of Pokemon Go, and unfortunately, that one guy from Theranos. It's home of amazing people and those who went into investment banking. Kidding. Kidding. Haas, the suits think we're hippies, and the hippies think we're suits. Where do we fit? The other colleges at Berkeley will be like, we invented gene editing, which represents the literal next step in human evolution. It's CRISPR. And then Haas says, over here, we run Annie's Crispy Mac and Cheese, now available for the low cost of $3.99. Clearly beyond yourself. Okay, so time for some themes. You've already had the memes, it's time for themes. This graduation and reunion is not just about our time at Haas. It literally can't be. We saw the death of 6 million people worldwide, and 1 million in the US alone from COVID. So how do you move forward? How do you keep going? How do you celebrate our accomplishments without it being a self-serving pat on the back? There's war, racism, income and gender inequality, capital insurrection, refugee displacement, and climate change that continues to rage on. What are our answers? Did y'all read this case? Did Elon tweet out a solution yet? How can anyone possibly summarize an answer? And you can't. But you, the individual, don't have to. And that's because you don't have to do it alone. Behind countless heated exec Zoom calls is a working, totally drained parent from managing a household of kids who, after the call, sighs into their chair saying, fudge. At hospitals, techs, nurses, doctors are all burnt out. They might find themselves returning home to a parent or loved one just to have to care for them again. Restaurant workers saw their lives flipped upside down as shops closed and their stability fell into jeopardy. People just like you and me had to postpone seeing at-risk family members for years, missing holidays, birthdays, and time together, which is way more valuable than Bitcoin will ever be. And COVID in this time period has stripped us down to our core, our exposed vulnerabilities. And, one second. And our last walls we've built to preserve our outward appearances are starting to crumble. Oh, I'm an MBA. I got promoted. That's going on LinkedIn. Do you agree? those walls have begun to crumble, and it's good. So we're tearing down these walls and inviting strangers in, sometimes into our literal homes, to see our humanity. The good, the bad, the screaming baby or parent in the background. And then there was this realization. There were shared flaws, worries, anxieties that, although they're not the resume highlights we proudly share on LinkedIn or the ones we share with Haas to get in, they are just as much a part of you, and arguably more so. And from there, I think we can see each other as humans with more or less the same struggles, goals, and hopes. Now I ask, so raise your hands if you have struggles. Like, look around. It's probably like every hand. Now, I ask to keep that hands raised if you got them, and, and if you have hopes. And it's basically everyone. And we're basically the same in this way. And, let's see if this works. Yeah. So I'll break this down real quick. Y'all can hear? So Haas, its students, faculty, its principals, and its community taught me to show up as my most authentic self and to be a more empathetic person and friend and brother and son and leader. Although I'm still technically an analyst, just to be clear, that's the 5th defining principle. And the lessons I learned at Haas taught me in COVID to tear down my own walls and invite people in and see them as complex, three-dimensional beings that they truly are off the screen. Because in Berkeley, you have to walk a mile in someone's Birkenstocks to see who they are. And we've got to try to make this big, scary world a little more familiar, a little smaller. No, we can't do it alone. And we've all got to do is try to help each other and decide what to do with the time that's given to us. So congrats, Haas, and thank you for your time. A lot of stuff up here now.
So I think Joe is definitely Dean material. So now we turn to the full-time MBA class of 2021. You spent the second half of your MBA program studying remotely, working remotely, taking meetings by Zoom, and then studying remotely at night or over the weekend. It was not for the faint of heart, but you persevered and you made it work. Showing the kind of confidence that doesn't require attitude, you nourished your connections to your classmates and built a community that will serve you a lifetime. We are proud of you. You also went above and beyond yourselves. So let us recognize these fearless leaders with our Defining Leadership Principle Awards. Again, as I announce the recipients of the DLP Awards, will they please stand? Again, I ask our guests to hold your applause until I've read all the names. I also ask our recipients to remain standing until all of the awards are announced. The recipient of the Question the Status Quo Award is Faizen Gawani. Faizen served as VP of Education for Q at Haas and worked diligently to build expertise in understanding and mitigating bias in artificial intelligence. As part of the Q community, as a South Asian who has lived outside the United States, and as a Muslim, Faizan amplified the voices of others who didn't always feel comfortable raising their own. The next award is for Confidence Without Attitude. For the class of 2021, the recipient of that is Fede Pacheco. Fede was a story salon coach who put his whole heart into helping speakers tell their best stories. He consistently took the initiative to bring people together. For his classmates, he was a mentor always. Finally, student always, and the recipient of that award is Jose Ramon Avellana. In nominating Jose, his classmates said you could feel how deeply committed Jose was to the learning of others. He served as a consortium liaison, a member of the Diversity Admissions Council, a Dialogues on Race facilitator, a leadership communications GSI, and a Haas undergraduate URM mentor. Actually, I have one more award, the Beyond Yourself Award. The Beyond Yourself Award goes to Kendall Bills. Kendall served in numerous formal roles that reflected her commitment to equity and inclusion, but her classmates also spoke of the informal ways in which she engaged personally in showing compassion, building community, and in her advocacy and allyship for social and racial justice. Congratulations to all our award winners. You may be seated. And now the Academic Achievement Award for the student with the highest GPA of the class of 2021. This award goes to Devin Courtois. Devin? Devin had a GPA of 3.974. So now we will hear from the graduating student speaker for the full-time MBA class of 2021, Fede Pacheco. Fede is now a partner and channel marketing manager at Microsoft. I'm sure he's bringing the confidence without the attitude that he unfailingly showed at Haas. About Fede, one of his classmates wrote, "If I think about someone who has most contributed to my learning and my growth at Haas, it would be Fede. And I am positive I am not alone in saying that." Please join me in welcoming Fede Pacheco.
This is so cool. I told my mom if I start speaking in Spanish, like, wave at me. It's not a couple of days ago it feels that I hear in the School of Defining Principles, what's your defining moment? It's week 0. It's actually week -1. We're in the 4th day of Math Verbal Camp. And I got to share my defining moment with someone in the room. I have no idea who it is. I only known everyone for a week or so. So I subconsciously start walking towards the left of the Anderson Auditorium, towards the exit, involuntarily. And I see Aishu standing right next to her. I'm not worried about what I'll say. I know exactly the story that I could share. And Don Moore told me once that I was too trusting, so I wasn't concerned about sharing the story. I'm mostly concerned with, is it a story worth sharing? Is this something that she'll remember? Would it mean something to her? And then she goes, "You go first." I wish I could tell myself so many things at that moment about all the defining moments that I would have from that moment and everybody in the room would have from that moment and for the next 2 years. Only a couple of weeks later, I would find myself in microeconomics class. The professor would say, "Talk amongst yourselves. What would you do?" I turn right, and naturally, that person is already talking to the other person, so I turn left, and I see David Brown Dawson, DVD. And I'm like, no, you weren't my plan B. Let me explain. But I naturally started thinking, okay, we're going to get cold call here. But I've also never introduced myself. I don't know who he is. Like, how do we do this? Like, I read the case. I don't know. I don't want to sound like too nerdy, but also like I'm not, I don't know, like so many thoughts in my head at that moment. I wish I could tell myself that it doesn't matter what happened in that moment. First of all, because if we get cold call, Oski will clap anyway. And mostly because I would run into him many, many more times in the MBA journey through serious negotiation classes about selling a bike that had to be yellow or light green or something. And also in some breakout rooms where we would all both admit that we did not read the case and maybe just catch up after a long, long time of not seeing each other. It feels like it was the exact next day when my phone vibrates and I'm all trapped in my apartment. And I get a message from Ade saying, "Hey, I got the job. I'm so happy. Thank you for your help." And I think that I'm so happy for her as an international student getting your first job in the US at Microsoft and STEM OPT. And it's just a perfect journey for her. And I'm so grateful, especially because I feel like I did nothing. I only told her what I did to get rejected. Because I had the interview like the week before. And it starts coming to my head that I'm still not there yet. There's quite the journey that I would face for the next weeks and months and what seemed like ages until I find my own path. And we all find our own struggling path across canceled internships, canceled interviews, and all that craziness. I wish I could tell myself that it'll be all right at the end and we will all find our own path. And just time flies. It's April 2021, and I am entering this packed bar for the first time in century, maybe. And I see my PowerPoint Magic crew, Johnny and Kevin. And I see Stories on coaches and my study team and my cohort friends. And I just see everybody, and I'm so overwhelmed because there's so many people I want to catch up with. It feels like that sunny, shining courtyard in first year. It actually feels like that today, even with the second years here. So memorable because I remember that feeling of, oh, I actually have friends. I actually have a couple of people I could talk to here. I haven't met him for more than a week. And what I remember the most about that night is that in April of 2021, we were all talking about how exciting it would be and how we would survive the next following weeks, and not talking about all that we missed and all that we could have had and all the things that should have been better and if only this or that. And we would hop on a bus to go to camp and have the hash roast and the rematch of the cohort Olympics and the Backstreet Boys one more time, and to listen to the lyrics of the Red Hot Chili Peppers one more time. I wish I could slow down every second of those weeks until that truly remarkable has boats for one last time, that not a powerless, crooked, sinking boat would ruin, not at all. Not a story worth sharing today. So many little but significant defining moments through 2 years that we could characterize as many things, unprecedented, or any other buzzwords. I wish I could tell myself all that and more when I hear you go first. And especially when I hear I should say you go first, I want to tell myself how defining that conversation doesn't matter, again, what I say. It would form such an important bond in only a few minutes that would define not only my friendship with that person, but how I see our class, and how I would trust all of you so much. That's what I want to remind myself when somebody asks, well, what's your MBA like? Because it's so hard to separate that joy with the pain and the grief of the what could have been or how it could have been. What I've chosen to do and decided to do, this is very important, so I'm going to @channel all of you. Sorry, Bing. Sorry, Aditi. It is a defined moment already. We're all here today deciding whether we choose to relive it with joy or with a little bit of something else. And I know what I want, what I feel when I see all of you from here is that I'm so excited to have one more weekend today, tomorrow. I'm so excited to listen to the Oski chant one more time. And I'm so excited for one more calladita. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fede. I will also think about what you said, to remember the moments of joy and not dwell on the moments of pain and sacrifice and the challenges. So, the moment you have all been waiting for, at least I think some of you have been waiting for, has arrived. We will now recognize the full-time candidates for the class of 2020 and 2021 for the degree Master of Business Administration. Assisting me today will be Jamie Breen, the Assistant Dean for MBA Programs at Haas, and Jennifer Bridge, the Director of Student Experience for the full-time program, and Professor Assistant Dean for Academic Affairs, Don Moore, and Chait Teaching Award winner, Kimberly McPherson.
Stacy Danielle King.
Celeste Faiwaso.
Evan Wright.
Max Silva.
Christian Gonzalez.
Colin Ridlin.
Jan Philip Frank Dietrich Pryder.
Ekanka Mbagwa.
Adolfo Quesada.
Anna Christina Alanis. Hello, baby.
Nicole Simone Austin Thomas, and more.
Olayinka Omalore.
Thank you. David Brown Dawson.
Randall Nixon.
Adelada Valencia.
Erica Harada.
Andre Chabonet.
Luisa Piscinoto.
We'll give it a moment. Jeremy Bensaba.
Thais Esteves.
Wei Li.
Ding Wang.
Nian Zhou.
April Mingjing Zhu.
Giada Tu.
Sandy Liu.
Shano Young.
Santiago Correa.
Juan Cantu.
Kair Dosanov.
Odeid Bahar.
Paulina Boonman.
Lucy Wagner.
Augustine Santillan.
Stephen Brisley.
Madeline Vaughn.
Michelle Kim Gorsica.
Devin Curtois.
Okay. Paula Lorena Fernandez Baca.
Eva Gerfine.
Louis Swan.
Marcus Ferrari.
We're going to slow it down for a minute. There's a pilot. Ritwick Grover.
Toby Tan.
Fernando Reyes.
Jorge Morel.
Shine Mao.
Jack Kirby Miller.
Carla Orega.
Silky Lemka.
Hind Katukta.
Giles Templeman.
Dennis Hauser.
Arman Armin.
Belen Salazar.
Celso Garcia.
Luis Arnaboldi.
Felix Fernan Shadek.
Okay, we need you to hold. Raul Diaz.
Elian Garcia Amor.
Alex Steiner.
Juliana Pugliese.
Antonio Ciudad.
Alberto Granados.
Stephen Chernikoff.
Matthew Newsonow.
Min Liu.
Neha Jain.
Connie Sai.
Victoria Chen.
Joanna Kamian.
Brian Shane.
Brendan McKeon.
Adam Dominic.
Joey Weinstein Carnes.
Maria Antolines.
Alberto Gutierrez.
Swamit Mehta.
Adam Burgess.
Ashish Bhatt.
Matthias Froelich.
Joseph Roy Parker IV.
Marguerite Deschamons Kitry.
Catherine Reynolds.
Joseph Hassin.
Quinn Schur.
Andres Romero.
Matthew Bryan Wald.
We're going to hold for a second. Emmanuel Ozuna Vargas.
Miguel Moreno.
Kyle Rolnick.
Trishla Jain.
David Miller.
Damian Prendergast.
Noah Platt.
Midori Chikamatsu.
Fiona Adams.
Courtney Seller.
Isha Paul.
Catherine Lindquist.
Isabella Doherty.
Gina Haney.
Caroline Gizon.
Sarah Cohen. Erica Rodine.
Kyle Warner.
Benton Persons.
Jeff Simnick.
Eric Sorensen.
Yen Kai Huang.
Ran Fu.
Chingapu Kodira.
Ansha Kawatra.
Arpana Deer.
Jessica Slokovich.
Carla Patillo.
Ezgi Karagach.
Chandler Sherman.
Christine Leary.
Alex Schlossberg.
Molly Zines.
We got a pilot behind you. Give us a minute. Hillary Platt.
Alex McLeish.
Anthony Riata Lua.
Jonathan Lamb.
Rodrigo Morelli.
Deborah Tan.
Alan Mann.
Paula Morin Larson.
Tommy Larson.
Nisha Garg.
Catherine Hawthorne.
Jesse Tang.
Lucas Cobbs Yin Kim Sea.
Erica Saltinian.
Marina Mammer.
Tema Abe.
Donald Wang.
Lauren Grimino.
Joyce Yao.
Allison Gilbert.
We just need to pause.
Carolyn Henderson.
Alex Saul.
Michael Hodge.
Scotty Mead.
Eduardo Roder Morea.
Cece Bai Sekau.
Hyunjin Kim.
Malia Latin.
Sarah Elise Boisseret.
Brian Tom.
Kavino Chang.
Moonxian Xiao.
Fiona Choi.
Lu Liu.
Krissa De Gomez.
Mandy Hu.
Michelle Zhang.
Oriana Chu.
Dunya Panich.
Harry Goldberg.
Steve Simon.
Bethany Ellen Bogan.
Emily Brecklin.
Fei Yu.
Alexandra D'Agostino.
Mark Shyness.
Kylie Sale.
Douglas Pollock.
Give it a hold for a second.
Dalton Guthrie.
Josh Rhimes.
Katrin Hall.
Mary Yao.
Carolyn Vo.
Guadalupe Manriquez.
Ha Du.
Faizan Amina Gawani.
Sagar Doshi.
Nicole Savage.
Josh Yoner.
Catherine Palma Start Pradhan.
Benjamin Orwin.
Lloyd Johnson.
Malika Chawla.
Sarah Ahmed.
Daniel Oscar Lazarus.
Abhinav Deshmukh.
Yu Young Zhou.
Tian Wang.
Elizabeth Rose Aronson.
Maggie O'Neill.
Gina Dietz.
Gio Guillen.
David Bolivar.
Merch Ewings.
Victor Gorachachi Garcia. Gorachachegi. Gorachachegi. My grandmother.
Kimberly Mendez.
Kate Smith.
Luke Headland.
Owen Teach.
Matt Tortorello.
Af Hernandez.
Andrew Sublet.
Pat Hyde.
Aiden Leonard.
Andrew Blute.
Sam O'Reilly.
Nacho Balaguer.
Maria Del Mar Londano.
Andrea Esido Trueba.
Stephen Gann.
Megan Dow.
Tess Pendery.
Kara Hammer.
Joshua Summer.
Kate Tomlinson.
Ross Ellsby.
Erica Renson.
Mina Matsumoto.
Stephanie Rank.
Mike Jordy.
Will Bricker.
Patricia Sands Pastor.
Luis Reina.
Grant Stanley.
Alex Klein.
Herman Reyes.
Tony Yuan.
Benny Johnson.
Anis La Rosa.
Dev Patel.
Barun NJ.
Brian Bach.
Jose Luis Avalos.
Douglas Sierra.
Sonia Parmar.
Asif Muhammad.
Numratha Mani.
Noha Nowhere.
Krutika Persnani.
Zinat Nanji.
Rohan D'Souza.
Mihir Mehan.
Aditya Sukia.
Jay Wang.
Santiago Pezzoni.
Salish Mohapatra.
Maksat Jalil.
Fernando Castillo.
Brian Tweedell.
Dakota Campbell.
Slow it down just a little bit.
Joseph Bird.
Sam Atwood.
Thank you so much.
Joe Satowski.
Fetty Pacheco.
So at this time, will all the candidates for the degree Berkeley Master of Business Administration from the full-time program please rise? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President of the University of California and the Chancellor of UC Berkeley, I grant you the degree Master of Business Administration. You may now switch your tassels, if you are wearing tassels, to the left. Please be seated. You have now commenced a new lifelong relationship with the Haas School in Berkeley as alumni. We welcome you to this new distinction. Before I bring the ceremony to a close, I would like to invite you all to join us for the commencement reception, which is at 2323 Broadway. It's just a few minutes walk from here. We are full of pride at your achievement. We are in awe of your courage and the resolve you showed throughout your time with us, and we eagerly anticipate your great accomplishments in the future. Congratulations. Thank you all for coming, and this commencement ceremony is now concluded.